In this video, we're going to recreate a really cool effect as you saw in the thumbnail. So let's say that you're working on a project that includes some footage that has to look like it's been shot like in the 90s, for example, or you have, for example, certain footage that you wish you had shot back then and you only have like the modern version of it. I'm going to recreate today's thumbnail, obviously, as you saw, but of course with video. So let's go ahead and get started right now with the video that I have right here. This one is shot on my iPhone. So of course I didn't use my official like GH5 because with the full quality, like 20-30 years ago, you wouldn't really have access to that quality yet. So of course I tried to get the lowest quality possible to get this effect. So obviously I'm going to first show you the before and the after. So this is basically what it looks like right before I have applied all the effects on it we're going to go over today. And this is basically the end result. It looks really nice and it's done so easily with just a few simple steps. All right, so now that we are in Vegas Pro, we just have our raw clip that we have shot. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. It's just a still shot from the rack and the amplifier. So to get as close as possible to like the pixelated quality that we had like in the 90s and the early 2000s, what we need to do is we need to obviously have less quality than we have right here. So I actually found a really good trick for that. So we're not going to go into Vegas and use like a pixelate effect or something like this. What I found the most efficient is to just take your raw clip and upload that onto YouTube as a private video. All right, guys, so as you can see right now, you don't really want to fill in, for example, anything important because this is not going to be public or something like this. We're going to only use this video on YouTube to lower the quality to 240p and then capture that and then use that in our video. So I'm just going to call this, for example, like title. We don't have to do anything. We just have to make sure that everything will be uploaded privately onto YouTube. So I'm going to click on privé. Of course, obviously that means private in Dutch. Then we're going to hit save and we're going to wait until this video has finished uploading. All right, guys, so this is the video preview. Obviously it is private right here. This is looking very close to like the quality you would have back then. So right now you have the quality. So obviously we have like 144p if you want to go really extreme, but obviously when it comes to like text and all of this, I wouldn't really pick 144p because the text won't even be readable. But if you have, for example, something like this, like you are able to identify this object with this quality from this distance. So you could use this one, but I'm going to pick 240p, just a little bit better. And then what you need to do is just screen capture this. For example, use OBS, or you can just go, for example, like this, go full screen, and then we can just go and play it back like this. And this is basically the footage that we will be using in Vegas. So while this is running, you want to make a video out of that to capture this really pixelated, more kind of quality. So once we have completed that, we can now go back to Vegas and drag in the screen capture file that we just made of this video on YouTube. And obviously you can just remove this video right now from YouTube. It was just solely the purpose to get the quality that we have and right here to make it look as close as like the 90s and the early 2000s. All right, guys, so this is the quality that we have shot it in, and this is the video that we have just captured from YouTube. So that looks really nice. So now we can move on to the next step, which is obviously adding this kind of pixelated overlay. I'll leave the download link to that file in the description down below so you guys can go and download that after this video. So let me drag in the file and let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is the VHS overlay, as you can see right here. So if I play this back, this is like the stereotypical like pixelation you would see like so many years ago on these cameras. So that's what we're going to use as an overlay over our video. But obviously first, our video, 9 out of 10, your video would be captured in a square resolution and not like 16:9. So we're going to make this one a square first of all. So we're going to click on the event pan crop icon right here, and then we can just make a square, for example, ourselves. But there are already presets from Vegas itself that you can browse. So if you want to use this one, that looks really cool, and this looks way closer to like so many years ago when you would capture this on this camera. So now that we have chosen this preset, as you can see, the 4:3 standard TV aspect ratio, we can go and close this out, and then we can go and create a new video track to place our overlay on top of it, as you can see right here. All right, so now that we have the overlay on it, we're not seeing anything because we need to go to the track of the overlay, and then we're going to place this one from the compositing mode from source alpha to screen. Bam. So now that you can see through it, this is what it looks like, but it's not really optimized when it comes to the resolution. So I'm just going to go to the track motion icon on the very left of the track. So now we're going to just resize this one a little bit. So now that it looks way better like that. So we have play in the corner, just like this. You can just position it, for example, like that a little bit more. This is what it looks like so far. As you guys can see, obviously you can lower the opacity of the overlay just a little bit if you think that the pixelation is a little bit too much. I'm going to keep this all the way up because I really like this vintage look, but obviously you can also trim down like the edges, because if you're going to use this aspect ratio in your video, then obviously you will see also the grain, and people will tell that it's an overlay. So now we're going to trim this down to the end of the video, just like that. And now we're going to go to the event pan crop icon of the overlay, and now we're going to also go and click on the mask icon on the very bottom, and we're going to just draw a square just like this, and then we can use these sides. If you pay attention to the video preview, as you can see, this is what it looks like if you go over it, and you just want to make sure that it will touch the edge very precisely, so just that we have a nice black solid color right here, so people won't tell that you use an overlay. So now we're going to also do that on the other side, make sure that it is nice and even. All right, so now we have achieved this one. We could actually use this, but it has a little bit too much contrast and saturation. So we're going to go to the video effects tab right here, and we're going to go down to the color corrector secondary, and we're going to drag on the default onto our video that we shot from our phone or our other camera. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag down the saturation just a little bit, and if you notice right here, this is what it will look like. So this is obviously normal, and if I drag it down just a little bit, it gives us more of a vintage look. And now if you play it back, this is basically the end result. It looks really, really cool, and it looks like it's just been filmed in like 1999 or 1998, for example. And this is how you can achieve this really cool effect, guys. It is super simple. You can just go and apply these effects onto your main video, and if you take away the overlay, this is just what the regular video looks like, just a little less saturation and the overlay. You got to do some cropping, obviously, and that is basically how to achieve this effect, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. The overlay download link is in the description down below, so you guys can go ahead and download it and use it in your project. Make sure to go to your track of the overlay and place the compositing mode to screen to be able to see through the black, and that's it. These sound effects are compatible with any software that you have. Any software for video editing that can read MP3 files and .wav files, they can actually go and use and read these sound effects. So it's really, really cool that this is compatible for all softwares, and not only, of course, for a specific software user. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the link down in the description. Make sure to open up the link in another tab so you won't lose this video, and then you will land on this page, which is the Mediafire one. Okay, so now that we are on the Mediafire page, I do have to warn you guys, this is a file that is over 1 GB large, as you can see right here. So if you have a slower or a more of an average internet speed, especially a download speed, this might take a little while, but if you have a decent or a fast upload speed, then this will maybe take about 5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm guessing between 30 minutes and an hour. And that's because there are over, as you saw in the title, there are over 1,000 sound effects from anything that you can imagine, from the typical meme sound effects to like let's say the GTA 5 sound effect. Like here we go again, we have all kind of transitions, and I can't wait to have you guys discover this. And also make sure to let me know in the comments down below after you downloaded this pack, which one is your favorite. So let's go and proceed. So I'm going to click on download 1.18 gigabytes. So then you will see this box, sound effects.zip. It is 1.18 gigabytes. So I'm going to click on OK. So now that we have downloaded our file, this is basically the folder that you will see. So I would actually recommend to create a separate folder, because if you're going to just extract this anywhere, let's say that you're going to extract this to the audio or an audio folder, for example, in your documents on your computer, I have to warn you that there are going to be over 1,000 files in that folder. So I would recommend to just create a separate one so you won't have files all over the place, and not in any case pick your desktop, because you won't even see what your desktop is at this point. So I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to hit a new folder. I'm just going to call this sound effects, like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the folder itself. And I'm going to click right here to copy the path or the location. Then we're going to go back and I'm going to click on soundeffects.zip. It's not going to ask you for a password, or it's not going to ask you to complete some sort of a survey that you're stuck with like a subscription of like 25 bucks a week. So it's very simple. You just open it up right here, and then I'm going to hit Control A, and I'm going to uncheck the top folder to make sure that all the sound effects that we have in here are selected and ready to be extracted. So if I'm going to show you guys right now, these are the sound effects that are included. So many different ones for your project, whether you make like gaming, documentaries, vlogs, whichever content you guys are making, this is going to be so extremely valuable. So once you have selected everything and you have also just deselected the top file, we're going to click on this icon. It's in Dutch for me, but in English you're going to say extract to. So then we're going to hit there, and then right here we're going to paste it right here, the path that we copied from the folder, and then we're going to click on OK. Now it's going to extract over 1,000 sound effects, and I'm going to show you guys, of course, also how to use them. These are basically all the sound effects that we have. So let's just go and drag one randomly into our project right here in Vegas. And if you play it back, this is what it sounds like. That sounds very, very cool, and this works exactly the same for all the other software, guys. All right, guys, just to also show you real quick, this is Premiere Pro. So, of course, this is a Vegas Pro tutorial because you guys are always used to these, but I just want to quickly throw in the section where I'm going to show you how to use these in Premiere Pro. So let's go and create a new sequence, or a new project, rather. And then we're going to just give this a name. Let's say sound effects, just like this. Then we're going to just open it up. It doesn't really matter what kind of settings we have, because this is just solely to show you how it works and that it works exactly the same. So right here we have a blank project. Now let's go back to the folder that we just extracted. All right, so right here we have the folder. So let's go and drag in a different sound effect. So let's say I'm going to pick this one. Let's drag that into our project right here into Premiere. So that's how simple it is, guys. This is how you drag and drop your sound effects into Premiere Pro, into Vegas Pro, and of course it works the same with After Effects and Filmora, Wondershare, Movavi, basically any other software that you're using, even DaVinci Resolve. Just like I said at the beginning, any video editing software that can read these MP3 and .wav files is compatible. 5 little tips you guys can implement into your Vegas Pro version, no matter what version you have, to prevent the crashes, to reduce the freezing if it's during the editing or during the exporting. So the first one is going to be pretty straightforward. So we're going to go and change the GPU acceleration settings for just a second. So what we need to do for that is we're going to go to the options button at the very top. Then we're going to go down to preferences, and we're going to hit the video tab right here. So then right here we see this third option that says GPU acceleration of video processing. Standardly that's going to be on optimal. NVIDIA Corporation, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070. It's going to basically say your graphics card. You want to switch that one to off, and that is basically how you want to keep that setting. You want to hit on apply, and then you want to hit on OK. That's going to actually change a little bit more of how Vegas Pro is going to perform, and it's not going to run like the majority of your project through your graphics card and all that, especially for the GPU acceleration. Just because Vegas Pro can sometimes divide like how much RAM are you using, that we'll also get to in just a second, or the GPU acceleration, which is going to be controlled by your graphics card. So the next option is basically importing your files differently, because if you're editing a lot of different files and clips from different lengths, different qualities, and different frame rates, if it's even 4K, if you're going to drag that straight from your SD card onto your project, it can actually trigger some crashes, or even if you have it already on your computer and if you then drag it into Vegas Pro, that can also trigger some crashes. So to prevent that, it's just to import your files differently by going to File at the top, and then we want to click on Import, and then you see Media from Project, Premiere Pro, After Effects. You can also load in and open up After Effects or Premiere Pro projects if you want that. Final Cut Pro as well, and all the other options that we have, but we're going to stick for media right now. Then of course it's going to open up our folder, and then what we need to do is basically just select our footage, and then I wouldn't really touch Vegas Pro while it's exporting. I wouldn't even go out of the window, just in case, you know, if something might go wrong and the importing crashes. So just keep Vegas running how it is when it's importing, and that's also going to be a lot more stable when you're going to import footage, because I also just always used to drag and drop my files from my folder on my hard drive into Vegas Pro. But sometimes when it's a lot of footage or a really heavy project with music, sound effects, overlays, lower thirds and all that, sometimes it can just crash, and it's way better and more efficient to also just import your files through this method. Moving on to the third little tip that I'm going to give you guys, which is the dynamic RAM preview. So if you have, let's say, 16 gigabytes of RAM into your computer, or 32 or 64, you can actually choose like how much is Vegas Pro allowed to use. So we're going to go to the options menu once again, and we're going to hit preferences as well. Then we're going to go to the video tab again, and right here we have the dynamic RAM preview max. So this is going to be the slider that's going to decide how much RAM Vegas Pro can use to the maximum. So right now it is set on 0 megabytes, just so Vegas Pro can choose how much it wants to use. But if you want to give it a lot more space, I have 64 gigabytes of RAM available, so I'm not going to use all my RAM for Vegas Pro, otherwise no other programs will be able to run properly on my computer while Vegas Pro is open. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to crank this up to, let's say that we're going to give this one about 16 gigs of RAM, just like that, because I just want to keep everything else for my browsers and all the tabs you have open. So right now, once we have done that, we're going to click on apply. Now it's going to say the dynamic RAM preview function uses RAM shared by other applications on your computer, just like I mentioned, different softwares that you have open, including your operating system as well, where Windows is running on. If you notice playback issues or general computer performance problems after increasing the setting, lower the amount you allocate here. And if you notice that your computer is way slower, or that different applications are lagging, just make sure to crank it down to 8 gigabytes or maybe 12 instead of the regular 16 that we have, or even just 4 gigabytes. You'd really have to see which one and which setting works best for your system. So we're going to click on OK right now, like that. And of course, you have to reboot Vegas in order for these changes to take effect. The next tip is basically updating your drivers, because of course if you have your preview right here and if it's lagging or if it's crashing when you play it back, sometimes it can also have something to do with your graphics card. If the drivers are outdated, checking your driver updates on your graphics card isn't something you actually would do every single day. That can also cause like some freezes if your graphics card needs to be updated. So what you want to do is you just want to go to Google for a second. We're going to type in basically the brand of our graphics card. I have an NVIDIA, but some people can have also AMD. So I'm going to type in NVIDIA. And then right here, you want to go to the drivers button. And right here, I have a GeForce RTX 2070. So right here, we're going to type in, or rather search for GeForce. The product series is going to be RTX 2070. So I'm going to look for the RTX 20 series right here. I'm going to pick my GeForce RTX 2070. The operating system is Windows 11, and then the driver download type is going to be the game ready driver, and the language is going to be US. Then I'm going to hit search, and then it's going to automatically browse through all the drivers. And then right here we have this one. I'm going to click on download, where we can just update the drivers for our graphics card. We are downloading the latest update for our graphics card, and that's just something really crucial, because of course if you're updating like your one Windows system, it could actually include like drivers for your graphics card. But if you just notice that something is lagging or something is a little bit off, you can just go to the website from AMD or NVIDIA itself to get the latest drivers. And then right here, as you see, it will take us straight to the the process of how to update the drivers, and that will also cause a lot of improvements into Vegas Pro, because of course I have to mention that your preview is of course run by your graphics card, and that's something that has to be updated as well. Alright guys, so now that we have updated our drivers, it's actually very important to also make sure to check out the software updates for Vegas Pro. So how to do that is we're going to click on help at the very top, and then we're going to click on check for software updates. Now of course I already have the latest build of Vegas Pro 19, so it's going to say no updates available at this time. But if you have an outdated version of Vegas Pro when you're watching this in the future, let's say in 6 months from now, you can just download the build straight from the website to update that one as well. And if you want to be extra sure, you can click on check for driver updates as well, just to make sure that everything is matching. So right here it says the system version says 4.72.12, and the online version, the latest one that is available for download, is 4.72.12. So that basically means that our driver driver is up to date. Alright guys, so the last method is basically a little bit more also for when your rendering gets stuck, not necessarily for, you know, the entire editing, because of course this is only going to be when you're exporting. So if you want to render out your video, let me just go ahead and drag in a little something so I can just hit the export button right here, just this random checkerboard. Let's go to File, and then we're going to hit Render As, and then right here we of course have all the formats. Let's say that you have always been using the Magix AVC/AAC MP4 one, and all of a sudden you have, let's say, inserted a new style of footage, let's say from your GoPro instead of just your regular camera or your phone, and then all of a sudden it starts to freeze, or it just gets stuck at, let's say, 47%, or even worse at like 99, where we're just waiting for nothing to happen and know that we have to do it all over again. 9 out of 10 it has something to do with like the internal way of your, you know, footage, like the codec and the format that it is. So 9 out of 10, you know, let's say if you have different formats combined, such as MP4 from your camera, and then you also have like .mov footage from your iPhone, and then from your, you know, GoPro or something like that, it can actually be a little bit of a mix when it comes to having different files and different formats. So I would just pick, let's say, Sony AVC/MVC, and then you want to pick your internet 1920 by 1080 30p, and if you have your video shot in 50 FPS, you can just click on here, click on customize template, and then right here where it says frame size, you're going to keep that one how it is, and the frame rate is going to be 50 or 60 or just 30, or depending on like which resolution you shot it in. And then you want to hit render right here, and that is basically how you can go and also prevent these crashes while, you know, rendering or freezing and all that. Just try different formats, try different resolutions as well, and that is how simple it is. So these are 5 or 6 little tips to, you know, stop Vegas Pro from crashing, from freezing during editing, during playback, during, you know, exporting as well, and that is how simple it is.